I'm Julie Mason, and joining me now, David A. Ditch is Budget and Transportation Associate at the Heritage Foundation. He focuses on federal spending and fiscal policy. Here to talk about Biden's infrastructure plan, a.k.a. the jobs killer. David, good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. I was noticing, coincidental to your appearance here, there's a really interesting study. A business group says that the corporate tax hike would cost 1 million jobs.
I can absolutely believe that.
How does infrastructure kill jobs, or how does corporate tax rates kill jobs?
So the net effect of this entire plan would be to kill jobs. It's not that spending, the federal government spending money on infrastructure kills jobs. It's that the money they have to pull out of the economy to pay for a poorly thought out infrastructure plan would kill jobs. When you increase corporate taxes, that is going to reduce the incentive that businesses have to invest in the economy, which is the real engine that creates jobs. We saw that after the 2017 tax cuts, which were helpful not only for families but also for investors, for businesses, there was a surge of job creation. There was also a surge of wage increases. And those wage increases more benefited people in the lower half of the income scale.
Interesting. So what is the messaging going to be from Republicans on Biden's plan?
I think the top line is going to be, when people think about infrastructure, they're thinking about roads and bridges. But very little of this plan would actually be spent on roads and bridges. I've drilled into the numbers. They released some additional details just yesterday afternoon. Out of the $2.25 trillion in spending, less than $100 billion will go towards straightforward road and bridge construction projects. About 4%. But that's what this is being sold on. It's similar to how a couple weeks ago they signed a bill into law saying it was COVID-19 relief, but only about 5% of that was actually directly responding to the pandemic.
Right, and it had the pension money and all the other stuff.
Exactly.
That was popular with people generally, although it did seem like without hearings and everything like that, people kind of liked the concept but didn't really know many of the details. Not to cast aspersions on the education of Americans on policy issues, but what they're going to have hearings on this one now, and it seems a better opportunity for opponents of the plan to make their points.
I would hope so. I genuinely believe that there was not that much effort, relatively speaking, put into opposing the $1.9 trillion spending package, which is why there was no real political cost of passing it. I'm hoping that there will be more scrutiny of at least this package.
Well, with so much money out the door, there absolutely has to be scrutiny of it, wherever people land, but there just absolutely has to be. It's shocking to see the government spend money like this and just rush it through.
It really is, and especially when if we look at the details and ask, is this a good use of federal funds? Instance after instance in this plan, there are things that are micromanaging the economy. So, for example, we've got about $700 billion worth of corporate welfare and tax credits. You've got $400 billion in health spending. You've got handouts for mass transit, for Amtrak, for electric vehicles. This has much more to do with promoting a labor and environmental agenda than it does improving infrastructure that Americans use every day.
Really, really interesting analysis. David Ditch is Budget and Transportation Associate at Heritage. He focuses on federal spending and fiscal policy. David, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.